Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Christmas Eve. It is Wednesday, December 24th, 2025. I am Dave Biddle flying solo on today's show. I hope everybody is having a great holiday season. I've been doing we've had a couple of Christmas parties already, and then the real deal Holyfield tomorrow. So I hope everybody is having a great holiday season. We're just 7 days away from Buckeyes-Hurricanes. How cool is that? So let's get into it. We're going to obviously talk Ohio State, Miami. The betting line, for what it's worth, is holding steady at 9.5. It's been that way since I think it actually opened maybe at like 10.5. Then it dropped to 9.5. First time I saw it Sunday morning, it was 9.5, and it's held steady. So we'll see. So the Buckeyes, and that's the biggest spread of any of the quarterfinal games. Both Indiana, Alabama, and Georgia, Ole Miss, 6.5 points, with Indiana being favored by 6.5 and Georgia being favored by 6.5. And then it's pretty much a virtual pick-em between Texas Tech and Oregon. You know, Oregon's favored, but they're favored by like a point, maybe 1.5. So that's the one that's expected to be the closest. I think, and I can see why. Texas Tech, I've said all year, I don't think they're a paper tiger by any means. I mean, they're a little bit like Miami as far as like they've got a really good defensive line. And let's talk about Miami. We're going to get into Matt Patricia. That was awesome meeting with Matt Patricia on Monday evening. And I did a story for the site yesterday. He's clearly very happy at Ohio State. Who's going to be Michigan's next head coach? Pete Thamel had some thoughts this morning, which does not align with what the Michigan insiders on message boards are saying. So we'll see. I'm going to get into that. I've been keeping close tabs on that. It's just great theater. We have Biff Poggi saying that Michigan is a malfunctioning organization and has been for the last 5 years. And I'm going to put that before we get to Ohio State, Miami stuff. I'm just going to put this quote up. This is one of the most unbelievable quotes that I've ever seen, because it's almost like he's acting like he just got there, and he wasn't there for 3 of the last 5 years that he's talking about. He was there 21, 22. Then he got the Charlotte head coaching job, 23, 24, got fired, and came back this year. So he's been there for 3 of the last 5 years. Here's the quote. I said it. I just paraphrased it. Here's the entire quote. Biff Poggi. It has been 5 years of, let's just call it what it is, a malfunctioning organization where there's something every year. Everything that happens in this building, meaning Schembechler Hall, has to be reevaluated. Again, that reads like somebody that just took over and had nothing to do with the malfunction. Again, Biff Poggi, quote, it has been 5 years of, let's just call it what it is, a malfunctioning organization where there's something every year. Everything that happens in this building has to be reevaluated. Yes, I mean, he's not wrong. It's just hilarious for him to put that out there. And are Michigan fans happy he put that out there? No, they are not. They're not. They're saying the same thing I'm saying. They're saying, does he not know he was part of it? So pretty funny there. We'll get back to Michigan later. I just wanted to. That's just one of the most amazing quotes I've ever seen in my life. Let's just call it what it is: a malfunctioning organization. Correct. Something every year. Correct. Everything in this building has to be reevaluated. On the money. You've been part of it for 3 years, Biff. McFly. Gee, good old McFly over there. All right. Let's go back to the future and talk some Ohio State, Miami. Yeah, I'm pretty confident. I'm not like over the moon, like, oh, the Buckeyes are going to go out there and just beat them by 90. But like, I'm pretty confident they're going to win this game, because Miami's offense, while there are some good things about it that I'll get to, good luck against this Ohio State defense. I mean, good luck against this Ohio State defense. And now they're highly motivated. The Indiana game, I don't really think they needed, because they seemed like they were like pretty locked in all year. I never got the side, that they were like, oh, we got it made. We're coming off the national championship, which is kind of the vibe I got in 2015. Nothing against those guys. They just didn't seem to have the same hunger coming off that 2014 national championship. This year, especially with so many guys leaving from last year's team, because so many guys were back in 2015. This year with so many new starters, including 8 on the defensive side of the ball alone, they seem highly, highly, highly motivated, and they have all year. So maybe the Indiana game, they didn't need that wake-up call, but I don't know, man. I mean, something about taking that loss, and it didn't really hurt them. I mean, it hurt them as far as not winning the Big Ten title, not getting the number 1 seed. Although one could argue playing Miami in the quarterfinals is maybe better than playing Alabama. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I think Miami and Alabama are pretty evenly matched, and it doesn't really matter. But I don't know. Maybe you'd rather play Miami than play Alabama the way Alabama looked pretty good after they spotted Oklahoma 17 points. Bama looked pretty good. I think that's going to be a good Rose Bowl between Indiana and Alabama. But yeah, I'm pretty confident because you look at this Miami offense. I mean, Carson Beck, he's going to make mistakes. He's not a running threat. I think they're going to get after him, and he's going to get skittish quick. I see a Ken Dorsey almost comparison. Speaking of Ohio State Miami national championship, not that this is the national championship game, but everybody's going to be talking about it too. 23 years ago, and was it really a pass interference? Was it really holding? Whatever it was with in double overtime. Here's what every Buckeye fan needs to say just to shut that down. First of all, it was, but if you want to just let everybody know that you're a ball knower, just matter of fact when people are questioning it, when they say if you happen to have a Miami fan as one of your friends, which is probably not the case for anybody since they've got 10 or 20 total fans in their fan base. All you say is never should have went to overtime anyway. Chris Gamble was obviously in bounds on that third down play late in regulation. And they'll just stare at you like, what? Oh, you didn't know that? Oh, yeah. They messed that call up. It was instant replay. Chris Gamble's foot was in bounds on that pass. It would have been first down Ohio State. They just would have ran the clock out. So regardless, Ohio State deserved to win that game. And that just shuts that down right away. Because if they know, they know. And if they don't know, they'll be like, oh, this person knows more than me. So, yeah, Gamble was in bounds at the end of regulation. All right. But you look at it, I mean, I just don't see Carson Beck being able to, beat this Ohio State defense, and I think Mark Fletcher's really good, former Ohio State commit Mark Fletcher. I mean, you look at his stats, he's only got 800 some rushing yards this year. He missed a couple of games with an injury, nothing serious, obviously. He looked great against Texas A&M. I mean, he had that long run to really seal the game, but he was looking good all game to be looked like it'd be a 1 yard run, and he'd make it a 4 yard run. I always think that's just the great running backs do that. It's not all about hitting home runs and busting out 15-yard runs. Those are great, but a lot of times where it looks like there's nothing there or there's barely anything there, and they still get 4 or 5 yards. That's huge. And Mark Fletcher can do that. And they've got a good offensive line. They've got one kid, their big tackle who is going to be the top offensive lineman taken in the draft. They've got Brockermeyer, the center, who's now bounced around a couple different spots. His dad played in the NFL. Brockermeyer, their center, is a veteran. First year at Miami, though, but he was at Alabama. Then he was at TCU last year. And then now I believe he's a fifth-year senior. Brockermeyer's their center. He's not that big, but it's not like he's small. And their other tackle, they're only new starter, unless you consider Brockermeyer a new starter for them, but I don't really, since he's started every game for TCU last year. Their only new starter is the opposite tackle, the right tackle, but he's a big boy too. Both their guards are returning starters from last year, so it's a good offensive line. And Cristobal does a good job with both lines. That's always been his thing. Cristobal's, you can say this or that about Mario Cristobal. He's going to have a good offensive line, and they've got one of the best defensive lines in the country. So does Ohio State. So that's the thing. It's I like Mark Fletcher. Malachi Toney is a problem, but they don't have, they've got a couple other decent wide receivers. It's not like they don't have anybody else, but it's not like they've got, if you bottle him up, their number 2 receiver is also one of the top receivers in the nation. It's no, they've got a couple other solid receivers, but that way I think Ohio State can put, extra emphasis on Malachi Toney. And frankly, I might be not more concerned because he's going to get more opportunities and they'll do ends around with Toney. He's very explosive, as you guys know. Young man from Miami. He's not that big, so he's one Arvell Reese hit away from having a big problem. But he is fast. He'll probably be the fastest guy in the entire field. I don't want to disrespect any of my Buckeyes, but Buckeyes will be overall the faster team. But Toney will probably be the fastest guy on the team. And punt returning is a concern of mine a little bit. Although I will say this, even though he doesn't get, doesn't have a booming leg or anything, I mean, Ohio State's punter, like at least like does, with the Aussie. You can't do it. You got to be careful. You can get a punt block. Miami is, they can block some punts. You can't hold it for too long, but he does a pretty good job of kind of Joe McGuire when he's kind of rolling out, not kicking it right away, kind of waiting, which obviously gives your coverage team time to get down there. He does a pretty good job of that. Do that. Make sure I'd rather have a 38-yard punt with no return guaranteed. 38 yards is not ideal, but don't kick a line drive to Malachi Toney. That could be a problem. So, and that's the only way, in my opinion, that's the only path to victory for Miami is like things like special teams touchdowns, defensive touchdowns, turnovers in general. If Ohio State plays a somewhat clean game, they don't have to play their A game. If Ohio State plays their B game, they're going to win this game. Miami is just too limited offensively. Again, I like Mark Fletcher. I like their offensive line overall. I like Malachi Toney, but it's a pretty good offense. And you better be more than pretty good against the nation's number one defense. Number one by a mile. And like all the metrics that matter. SP plus, total defense, scoring defense, everything. Anything you want to think of, Ohio State has the best defense in the country. Talent, you look at the mock drafts, Arvell Reese is projected to be the top non-quarterback taken. Caleb Downs will be the first safety taken in the top 10 since Jamal Adams 9 years ago. So it'll be the 2017 draft with Jamal Adams, and this will be the 2026 draft. So first time a safety has been taken that high. So they've got the best non-quarterback as far as draft eligible guys, the best safety. Sonny Styles is projected as a first-round pick. Caden McDonald is, in my opinion, the best one tech in the entire country and will be a first-round pick. We can go on and on. I think IGB has a really good chance of being a first-round pick. IGB is having a fantastic year. Cut down on the penalties big time, and he's doing what he's always done as far as the other stuff. He's that dude. If you're picking late in the first round and he's there, that'd be a great corner and a plug-and-play guy for a team that's obviously good if you're picking that late in the draft. So I think IGB. So you look at this. They've got Caden Curry's having a great year. Kenyatta Jackson's having a great year. Ty Malone, not a great year, but he's holding it down as the starter. He's earned that starting job. And hopefully Edric Houston can come on in the playoffs. That'd be huge, even if it's in a backup role. Will Smith Jr. stepped up. But it's K-Mac, it's Curry, it's Kenyatta. Those three are, especially Curry. Well, and Kenyatta would have had a few sacks himself in the Indiana game if he didn't get if they were actually calling holding at any point. Curry was getting held and still had sacks, but mainly McDonald. He's the best of the bunch for sure on that D line, in my opinion, and that's saying a lot. And then Caden Curry would be number two, a little bit ahead of his buddy Kenyatta Jackson. It's hard to pick between those two, but I'll give it to Caden. He's got 11 sacks on the year. It's not, you can't just look at stats, but I love how both defensive ends are playing. All the hype coming into the year about, and I like Bo Atkinson. This is not a shot at Bo. Bo Atkinson. How Logan George is going to play, and CJ Hicks. And it's like, no one was talking about Caden Curry coming into the year. It's like, okay. He's having a fantastic year. So like this Ohio State defense is just absolutely loaded. Is this the best linebacking tandem that we've seen in a long time at Ohio State? You're damn right it is. I don't know when the last time we had, you could say the two linebackers or the top two linebackers, because for years they started three linebackers. The top two linebackers on the team, one is going to be the top non-quarterback taken in the draft. The other is going to be a first-round pick as well. There's been years where Buckeyes have had one. The best I can think of is when I was a little kid, and this is like when I fell in love with Ohio State, as I've said many times on the show. From a young age, I got the sickness. It's called good parenting right there. But I remember that 1985 team. I want to make sure I get this right. Yeah, because 84 they went to the Rose Bowl. It was actually my first Ohio State game ever at the Horseshoe. Was 84 Ohio State Michigan. Keith Byers and the boys won 21-6, punched their ticket to the Rose Bowl, and that was awesome. The next year, I think Chris Spielman, Pepper Johnson's probably the best linebacking tandem that I can remember at Ohio State. I feel like I might be leaving something out. You got to give it up to like Bobby and AJ, and we got to throw Schleggs in there too. All three of those. That was a great linebacking tandem. The 2014 national championship team had. I think Curtis Grant didn't really do anything for 3 years and had a good senior year. Darren Lee had a great year that year. Josh Perry had a good year that year. That was a good linebacking tandem. or trio. But as far as a 1-2 punch, Spielman and Pepper Johnson were the last ones. And keep in mind, I mean, Spielman should have been a first-round pick. He was taken like second pick of the second round. Now, today it would be a first round because I think he was the 28th overall pick. That was back when there was only 26 teams. So I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that Eric, and nothing against Eric Kumaro. I was happy for him. Eric Kumaro was a first-round pick from Ohio State that year. And I'm thinking, what is going on? I'm watching that as a little kid, like, well, how's Spielman not been taken yet? Because I wasn't that little by 88. The 88 draft, and finally Spielman was taken in the second round. I was just sitting there dumbfounded that Eric Kumaro from Ohio State was taken ahead of Chris Spielman from Ohio State. Yeah, and then everybody in the first round wished they would have taken Chris Spielman. And Pepper Johnson was a hell of a good linebacker too. So that's probably the last time I can remember a linebacking tandem that was as good as this one. And this one might be, as far as the NFL draft, this one's better. If you're going to use that as your gauge, but Chris Spielman is a fantastic NFL player. So we'll see what happens, and Ohio State player. So I like this matchup, Ohio State's defense against Miami's offense. All right, let's flip it over. Miami's defense is really good. Number 11 defense in the country. All right. Not as good as the number 1 defense in the country, but still pretty damn good. Number 11 in the country. Ruben Bain gets all the hype, and he's very good. He'll be a first-round pick. There's no doubt about that. They've got a good defensive line overall. They've got 2 really good pass rushers. Their linebackers are athletic, good. It's not just that they're athletic. It's like, some of them you say, their linebackers are really athletic, and you stop there. People, does that mean they're soft? Does that mean they can run fast and jump high, but they don't tackle well? No, they have good linebackers, but defensive line's their strength. I think Ohio State, they've got speed. Obviously, it's Miami. Obviously, they've got speed in their secondary. But I don't know, man. I think it could be a long day for that secondary. They give Julian time. If Ohio State's offensive line can hold up, then I think it's not just Ohio State has to rely on their defense to win the game, and that's why they're going to win. It could get – I don't think Ohio State's going to blow them out, even if that happens. But I think they could win comfortably. If the offensive line plays well and Julian has time to throw, I think Ohio State will win comfortably because I don't see Miami putting up many points in this game. Again, Miami's path to victory has to be shenanigans is the wrong word, but and luck might be a better word. Things like you wouldn't consider a punt return for a touchdown lucky. I mean, we didn't think Ted Ginn was getting lucky out there. It was just he was really fast and good, had great vision, pretty good combination, and it was tough. Teddy didn't get enough respect for how tough he was, especially being rail thin. He didn't care. He'd throw his body in there. Teddy was so damn good. So that's not luck. A lot of times turnovers are luck. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's a great play by the defense. Sometimes it's just flat out luck. Quarterback drops the ball. Snap gets, botched, something like that. So it's almost like 50-50 with turnovers. Luck, forced. But they're, turnovers in general, penalties, who knows, with replay officials and things like that. That's Miami's only path to victory, in my opinion. And then if the offensive line for Ohio State plays well, look out, because now JJ, who we talked to this week, is fully healthy. He says he's 100%. I like the quote that Jim Lachey uses. Nobody's 100% after the first day of camp, let alone this deep into the season. Now, they've had 2.5 weeks since their last game. It'll be 3.5 weeks by the time next Wednesday rolls around, New Year's Eve. And they're completely healthy. Brandon Ennis is raring to go. Max Clare, we talked to Max Clare. I mean, I think they're gonna get it going. And I'm also hearing, and this is no surprise because he played a bigger role. His role has continued to increase. Bo Jackson. I'm hearing they're gonna roll with Bo Jackson, and Isaiah West might be the next guy if Bo needs a rest. And Donaldson and Peoples will be at the ready, and they'll probably play. But I don't think Donaldson's necessarily your goal line back anymore, is what I'm hearing. It's going to be the Bo Jackson show is going to continue to get longer. So look for even more of Bo Jackson. So I'm pretty, and I like this idea of, it's not even an idea, it's going to happen. Ryan Day talked about it. I asked him about it, at the press conference on Monday. Are you going to have a new starting right guard? Is it going to be Gabe Van Sickle? And when did Gabe prove to you that he's ready to, for that role? And he said, he confirmed Tegra's out for this game, might be out for the rest of the year. They're not sure rest of the season, but he's definitely out for this game. It sounds like if they win, probably also out for the next game. Maybe he'd return for the national championship game if they made it. That's just me reading between the lines. Coach Day just said he's out for at least the next couple weeks. But the way he said it sounds like he might be out for the rest of the season. So it sounds like Gabe's going to start. But what it was interesting because Josh Padilla's been banged up. And what did Coach Day say? He said, Gabe, he made it seem like Gabe's going to start, but he didn't say that for sure. But he said Gabe and Josh are going to roll. And, Patrick Murphy thought that might be more like he was talking just in practice. I read that as they're going to roll. The plan is right now. The plans can change if one guy has a great week of practice, the other guy doesn't, or whatever. But I read it as the plan right now is, they're going to roll in practice, but they're going to rotate in the game as well. Like Josh Padilla will play. Let's say Gabe starts. Padilla will be in there, let's say, third series to see what he's got. They're going to rotate those guys. And they know it worked really well last year. It's not like, oh, God, this is a radical idea here, rotating the guards. It's like they rotated both guard spots last year. 3 guys into 2 spots, as you guys know, right? It was actually Luke starting and Tegra starting at the guard spots in the CFP, and then Austin Saraville would come in off the bench, even though he should have been one of the starters, whatever. It doesn't even matter, and would play both spots. Of course, Austin would play both spots. Like he's playing left tackle this year. He's going to play right tackle. That dude's he's a stud. He's an absolute stud. I think they are going to play a good game because they're coming off a bad game. They played really well against Michigan the previous week. And Michigan's got a good D-line. Not as good as Miami's, but a good D-line. And then they got their butts handed to them. I almost use a stronger word. They got their butts handed to them against Indiana. And now everybody's questioning them, so they're motivated. I know they're motivated. They're hearing how good Miami is on the defensive line. I think Ohio State's offensive line is going to at least hold the fort down. They don't need to go out there. I mean, if they go out there and just dominate Miami's defensive line, that's still basking. But they just need to hold the fort down and give Julian time, and I think they will. Open up some lanes for Bo, and Bo does a good job of making the first guy miss, which great running backs do. So that's where we're at on that. I just think if, it's not that simple, but pretty much the offensive line holds its own and then some against Miami's D-line, Buckeyes are going to win this game. I think they're going to win this game regardless, but and I think Miami's a good team. I was not surprised at all that Miami went to College Station and beat Texas A&M. Not that I know it was a rock fight. You also have to factor in that it was windy as heck, which affects everything. It affects quarterbacks, obviously. Miami has an excellent field goal kicker. I'm sure after he missed 3 field goals against A&M, he's going to go like 4 for 4 in this game. They might not score any touchdowns, though. That might be my prediction. They're going to get like 9 or 12 points all on field goals. He's an awesome field goal kicker. He's an All-American. He had one kick that was going right down the middle, right down the pipe from, I think, 40-some yards, and it got near the uprights or got near the up, and then just went straight right. From our view watching on TV, it was left. It looked like one of those like old Chicago Bears when it's really windy at Soldier Field, where they even like on an extra point it would go up and then just completely go horizontal. He's an awesome kicker. Don't look into it that he missed 3 field goals. He missed 3 field goals because it was like windy as heck that day. It was at least 15 miles an hour. Sometimes it was gusting up to 25. So he's a really good field goal kicker. But yeah, I think Miami's a very talented team. There's no doubt about it. But Ohio State's more talented. Buckeyes are going to have an advantage in the crowd big time. I have no doubt about that. I'd guess it'd be 85-15. And I feel like I'm being kind to Miami. Maybe 90-10 Ohio State fans. Let's go. One more thing on Matt Patricia before we get to the Michigan coaching search. We'll finish the show with the Michigan coaching search. And if you're just joining us, here's Biff Poggi's quote. It has been 5 years of, let's just call it what it is, a malfunctioning organization where there's something every year. Everything that happens in this building has to be reevaluated. It's a great point, Biff. Since you just got there, hopefully, you've been there for 5 years with the 2-year sabbatical when you took the Charlotte job. He's been there 3 of the 5 years, and that's the quote. It's been 5 years of, let's just call it what it is, a malfunctioning organization where there's something new every year. He left out the word scandal, but there's a new scandal every year. Everything that happens in this building, Schembechler Hall, has to be reevaluated. Yeah, Biff, I don't think that they're going to give you the job after that quote, and I think they want to cut ties with all of the scum that has just permeated that building, as Biff is saying himself. Like, Biff, you didn't just get there, man. I'm not saying he was the problem, but he was at least in the malfunctioning organization. There were stories being written about how he's like Harbaugh's consigliere and all this, using like mob terms. And it's like, okay, you can't have it both ways. You can't say that he's a big part of the program, but he didn't have anything to do with any of the stuff that happened. And even if he didn't have anything to do with it, like personally, but to say it's been 5 years of a malfunctioning organization when you've been in that organization for 3 years is just a hilarious quote. All right. Matt Patricia seems very happy to me, guys. Very happy. It's going to take, I know Penn State reached out to him. There was a little bit of flirtation there. I don't know if he turned him down or if they just decided to go, because that was right around the time when they were starting to talk to Matt Campbell as well. They might have just preferred Matt Campbell. I don't know. But I think unless something happens like what the Raiders did last year with Chip Kelly and offer him $6 million to go be the defensive coordinator for an NFL team, I think he's staying. He is very happy. The players love him. He loves the players. I have a story on Bucknuts right now that was posted yesterday. It's free for anybody to read. I retweeted it on my Twitter feed as well, so you can find it there as well. It's free for everybody. It's a pretty long story on Matt Patricia, and you get a little, by long, it'll probably take you 5 minutes to read. It's not like a novel or anything like that. I recommend you guys read that story on Matt Patricia that I wrote and I didn't really have to write much. It was mostly just quotes from Patricia. So some awesome quotes from Patricia. So read that story. I think he's going to stay. I think he's going to stay unless something crazy happens, like somebody just gives him everything, all the money in the world to go be a D coordinator in the NFL. I don't think he'll be up for NFL head coaching jobs. People will need to see more than this. But he would definitely be a good candidate to be a defensive coordinator in the NFL. But I don't think he'll leave just to be a defensive coordinator in the NFL if the money is similar. I think you're going to have to not necessarily overpay him, because I think he's worth a ton of money, but you're going to have to pay him a lot for him to leave. All right, Michigan coaching search. All right. The best way I can describe it is, and I've been paying close attention to it with the different message boards and people that seem to be in the know somewhat, and others that act like insiders that we know are not in the know from past experiences. But I've been reading it all, right? And then national guys that know their stuff. Like Pete Thamel seems to break every story that Michigan's dealing with. So I've been paying close attention to Pete Thamel. Now, if you get on the Michigan message boards, as of this morning, they were convinced it was down to, and they're not happy about it. They were convinced that it was down to Jeff Brom or Adam Stenavich, the offensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, which sounds good, but he doesn't call plays. Their head coach, LaFleur, calls the play. So he's like a OC in name only. We're familiar with how that works. And he's a Michigan guy. He's a Michigan man. 42 years old, Adam Stenavich, played at Michigan. He's an offensive lineman, was an undrafted free agent in the NFL, and then got into coaching. 42 years old. So they were convinced it was down to Brom or Adam Stenavich. Brom, whose Toledo or Louisville team barely beat Toledo yesterday, 27-22. There was a fight late in that game, though. How about the Ohio University Bobcats taking down UNLV? Dan Mullen was another guy that some people were kind of mentioning for the Michigan job, and then that kind of went away. I was thinking, okay. And then they lose to OU and their interim head coach. Then Pete Thamel came out this morning and just very casually said, not hearing anything concrete, but he is hearing names like Eli Drinkwitz is in consideration. Kyle Whittingham, former Utah coach, maybe, just as like a bridge, maybe a couple years. That would actually be an interesting hire for them, Kyle Whittingham. He said it's a long shot, but still maybe Kalen DeBoer if they lose to Indiana. He says that's an extreme long shot. Some Michigan insiders have said that's not happening at all. But he did not mention Jeff Brom. He did not mention Adam Stenavich. The two guys that Michigan fans were convinced as of this morning, and Michigan insiders were down to those two. It's all over the place. And there's been some people that have opined the reason it's all over the place is because the Board of Regents they're not aligned at all on this. There's a search firm that's helping them, but Michigan eventually you don't just let the search firm make the call. You eventually make the call. So the search firm might be suggesting somebody, and then some people at the Board of Regents are saying, well, what about the school president, right? Well, they have an interim president. What about the AD? I don't know how Ward Manuel still has a job, but it sounds like they're not letting him have carte blanche to pick the new coach, which is one smart thing they've done. So it's really the Board of Regents that's like, I mean, they're in charge anyway. The president, like as we know at Ohio State, it's like the Board of Trustees. The president reports to the Board of Trustees, not the other way around. Board of Trustees can fire the president. President can't do anything with the Board of Trustees. That's appointed by the governor of the state of Ohio. So they're in charge of it, and it sounds like the Board of Trustees, or they call it Board of Regents, is not on the same page at all. And that's probably what this is. You probably have some people leaking names to the media. Like, I trust Thamel, though. I mean, his hit rate is pretty high, and he's clued in. And again, he's saying Eli Drinkwitz, Jed Fish, Kyle Whittingham. Now, Jed Fish, these are guys that he said have a, he's hearing has, could be the next. He's not putting his money on anybody. He just is saying what he's hearing. Now, here's what I've heard with Jed Fish. I've heard that Michigan doesn't want anybody with any ties to Jim Harbaugh. Sorry, Biff. Jed Fish was on Harbaugh's staff the first 2 years. Now, that was back before they were cheating and they were just running a normal program. Well, as normal as it can be under Jim Harbaugh. But he still was at Michigan for 2 years under Harbaugh. They want to cut ties with anything from the Harbaugh era, is what I was told and what Michigan people are saying. But then you have and maybe it's because they've struck out, because they wanted Kalen DeBoer. They put all their eggs in the idea that he would, lose in the first round to Oklahoma, and then he'd come to Michigan. And then after 17, and when the Sooners are leading 17-0, they were feeling pretty good about that. And then Bama came back and smoked them, and they were not feeling good about that. So it sounds like they're putting all their eggs in the basket of, okay, he's going to lose to Oklahoma, which is a pick'em game, keep in mind. It wasn't like Oklahoma was favored by 14. If they're favored, I think they're favored by 1. I think Alabama was like a 1-point underdog, or it was a pick'em. So it's a 50-50 game, basically. And they put all their eggs in. DeBoer's going to lose, and he's going to take the job. Okay, that didn't work out. Oh, we'll pivot to Dillingham from Arizona State. Well, it sounds like they ticked off Dillingham. It sounds like Dillingham might have taken the job if they just like offered it to him and then screw him around, or waiting to see what happened with DeBoer. And maybe they didn't give him the same money that they were offering DeBoer. And eventually Dillingham just said, dilly. He popped open a Bud Light and said, I'm staying at Arizona State. And I know I'm biased here because I'm a Buckeye, but you give me the choice of living in the Phoenix area or Ann Arbor. Yeah, not a tough decision at all. And again, I don't know why some of these coaches that are already like kind of building to be legendary status at their school. He's an Arizona State grad, by the way, Dillingham. Beautiful area of the country. No pressure. You're filthy rich. Does it really matter if you're making $7 million or $9 million? I mean, I'd love to be in like, and I know rich people didn't get rich by not, getting richer, but like, I get that. But like, still, I mean, it doesn't change your life at all. It doesn't change your life at all. If you're once you're filthy rich, you can get richer. It doesn't change anything for you. Just be comfortable. Why chase a job like Rich Rod years ago leaving West Virginia? Why not just stay at West Virginia? You would have been a legend there. Said you'd become a punchline going to Michigan. So I think Dillingham made the right move. But so they struck out on DeBoer, probably, even though Thamel's saying it's still in play, but it's an extreme long shot, is what Thamel is saying on DeBoer. Maybe if they lose to Indiana, maybe Michigan will still have a shot. The fact that they're waiting this long is hilarious, because they came out and said they wanted to do it before Christmas. Well, you better do it today then, because we know tomorrow is. This is 2 weeks. Sharon was fired 2 weeks ago, and they still don't have a coach. It's unbelievable. It's all over the place. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like they wanted DeBoer or Dillingham, and they went 0 for 2, and now they're scrambling. It's a little bit of a Penn State situation, although I think Penn State worked out well for them in the end. So we'll see. I mean, it's interesting that Thamel mentioned Jed Fish, because again, I had heard no on Fish. Whittingham is interesting, and it seems like Michigan fans have been talking about that a little bit. They would be happy with that, and I can see why. Obviously, he wouldn't be there for long. But let's say you give Kyle Whittingham like a 2-year contract and then get a succession plan in place. That could be a reasonable strategy. Certainly better than promoting Biff, although that I still hope they do. That'd be hilarious. There's no way they will, because they want to cut ties with anybody from the Harbaugh era. And now we got to finish the show with the quote one more time. Biff Poggi. This has been 5 years of, let's just call it what it is, a malfunctioning organization where there's something every year. Everything that happens in this building has to be reevaluated, end quote. This is right after he says he wants the job. Give me the job. I'll help. I'll turn everything around. And then he says, it's been 5 years of, let's just call it what it is, a malfunctioning organization where there's something new every year, a new scandal every year. Everything that happens in this building has to be reevaluated. I mean, he's right. It's just amazing. Like I've said like 5,000 times on the show so far. That reads like someone who just got there. He's taken over. He's like, I see this has just been 5 years of trash, and I'm going to be the one to clean it up. I just got here. Like, no, dude, you were there for 3 of those 5 years. You were there for 60% of the malfunction, and you didn't do anything. You were the consigliere, the most interesting man on Michigan staff and all that. All these gushing stories about Biff Poggi that were written like in 21 and 22 and then coming back in 25. What happened to that? You can't have it both ways. Jeez, what a mess. We'll see. Maybe by the time I don't know. Maybe they've already hired a coach. I've been kind of in my own little bubble here doing the show solo. So maybe Michigan will have a coach today. We'll find out. But hey guys, I hope everybody has a great Christmas tomorrow. I hope everybody's having a great holiday season. 7 days away from Ohio State, Miami, which is really cool. Feels like it's been a long time since they played because it has. Because it has. It's been 2.5 weeks of no Buckeye football. And the guys, even Max Clare was saying, he's like, it feels like it's been like 3 months or something like that. It's kind of how it feels. Yeah. So just 7 days away. The countdown's on. Buckeyes have been practicing. They're going to take a day and a half off, I think, get back at it. A few more practices here in Columbus, head down to Dallas and get it on. Let's go. 9.5-point favorites. I like the Buckeyes to win and cover. I don't think they're going to blow them out, but I think Ohio State's going to win by double digits. And I think this defense is going to play awesome for the Buckeyes. All right, you guys are awesome. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. I thank you guys very much for joining me today and every time you guys join us for the Bucknuts Morning 5. We appreciate it very much. Happy holidays, everybody, and go Bucks.